Okay, so for my first topic on Let's Talk, I want to talk to you guys about exactly what's going on right now. Today's date is September 19, 2011. Why is that date significant? Tomorrow is the 20th of September, the day Don't Ask, Don't Tell gets repealed, or basically is no longer in effect, right? Don't Ask, Don't Tell, for many of you that don't know, came up in 1993. It was President Clinton answered to having gay, transgender, lesbian people serve openly. Serve in the military, but not openly, right? At first, when the bill was introduced, his goal was actually, before the bill was introduced, was actually to have everybody serve in the military, regardless of race, creed, or sexual orientation. But of course, through compromise and the way the political machine is built, he had to come up with a different bill, and this is what he came up with. It's not perfect. I don't agree with it. I never have. But lucky for us, President Obama was able to repeal it, and 6 months ago, the Pentagon started the process of educating Marines, sailors, airmen, and soldiers about what exactly was going to happen after the 6 months. And tomorrow's actually the day that, Don't Ask, Don't Tell goes away. Now, if you're asking why, why is this the first subject that I wanted to talk about? Well, simple. I'm gay. I also served in the Marine Corps for 4 years. I was in the military from 2000 to 2004 in active duty, and I left the military in 2004, did 4 years in inactive reservists, and Don't Ask, Don't Tell was a big part of what I had to go through, and a big part of my life in those 4 years. I think that, being in the military, there's enough things that you're stressed out about. I think there's a lot of things that you're going through that you have to do. You have to be here for your soldiers. You have to, go through training, education. You have to be deployed to places like Afghanistan or Iraq. Away from family and friends, away from the people you love. And I think one of the unnecessary added stress to that was Don't Ask, Don't Tell. During the 4 years I was in, I was coming to terms with my own sexuality, coming to terms with who I was, trying to figure out what I wanted in life. At the same time, I'm in the system that I love, because I love the Marine Corps. I enjoyed everything. I got a lot out of it, but I didn't think it was fair to have to, hide this, where other Marines, were putting pictures up of their girlfriend on their wall lockers or in their rooms, had a picture of their girlfriend on their phone, or talked about them, or went out on dates and went to the movies and brought them on base and did all this stuff. I didn't have that privilege. I couldn't do that, right? So, it was that added stress that wasn't needed. During the time I was in, I met other people, both in the Marine Corps, in the Navy, in the Army, in the Air Force, that were also, gay or lesbian or bisexual, and we bonded. It brought us closer together because we were going through a hardship together. We were going through something that most people couldn't understand. I think it's real easy to sit here and believe that we're not already certain, but there's thousands of people in the military that are actually gay or lesbian, and that are just trying to do the same thing as you are. Trying to serve their country honorably, trying to do their job, but also trying to find happiness, right? And I think that's the most important thing. When I was going out to San Diego, going to clubs, or meeting people and going on dates, it wasn't, because I wanted to break the rules. It wasn't because I wanted to, get away with something. It was because I wanted the same thing that everybody else had. I wanted to find someone. I wanted to meet that person that was going to make me happy. Right? But, it was a lot, it was harder. You had to worry about it. Who was going to see you, where they were going to see you. What were you going to do if someone you knew bumped into you, and they asked you who this person was? Now you had a lot. You had to say they were your friend or your buddy or something, but you couldn't necessarily tell them, oh, I'm on a date and this is the person I'm dating. And And what's funny is that it goes against everything the Marine Corps teaches you. It goes against everything you learn in the military. You learn to be honest. You learn, to be an honorable person, to have integrity. You learn to live, to have the courage to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves, right? Because what are we doing? We're fighting for beliefs that everybody has a right to be free, right? But yet you weren't, right? You were still a second-class citizen, but you were fighting for the rights of everybody else. I remember this time I was deployed to Korea, and I went to go see the DMZ, right? For those of you who don't know, it's the line between North Korea and South Korea. It's a place where there can't be any military weapons or military personnel in or anything like that. And both sides are basically guarded by a bunch of guard towers. The North Koreans have them, South Koreans have them, and obviously U.S. soldiers are stationed there. So we went, while deployed to Korea, we went to go visit the site. And I remember this officer in the Army came and gave us a tour, and we went to one of the towers, and he looked over and he told all of us, he said, "You see that line right there?" He said, "That's where freedom ends and tyranny begins. That's where people have no rights." All this other stuff. But in the back of my mind, as everybody else was shaking their head, I was like, no, not for me. Because my freedom of who I choose to love ends at the door. Even in America at the time, even if you weren't in the military, gay and lesbians are treated, transgender, curious, bi, questioning, however you identify, are treated unfairly. They're treated like second-class citizens, right? They can't get married. They can't have kids in some states. You can't adopt kids. You can't, go into the hospital and see the person you love when they're sick. That's ridiculous, But anyhow, we're getting a little bit off subject. So all those things played into part, when I was in the military. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal that this is getting repealed tomorrow, and that people are no longer going to have to hide who they are. Now, a lot of people in the military think that, oh my God, September 20th is coming, and boom, all these people are going to come out in drag, and they're going to be all flamboyant, and that they're going to do all this exaggerated, right? That they're going to live up to the stereotypes that people have put on these people, on gay, lesbian, transgender, curious, or bi people. But that's not necessarily true. In fact, when I was in the military, even if Don't Ask, Don't Tell wasn't in effect, I think that I would have kept my life private. It was my choice. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of people still feel that way. So I think even though Don't Ask, Don't Tell is going to be repealed, the only difference is that they're not going to feel the stress of having to hide it. You know what I mean? But I doubt that any of them are going to be like, oh my God, let me go out and tell everybody wear pink and do all this stuff. I'm sure that maybe one or two will, but that's just the world we live in. So again, I hope that this continues, and I hope that this starts a trend, as we are seeing in the states at this time, where more states are allowing gay marriage, or civil unions. People are so hung up on this marriage thing, and we'll definitely talk about that later. But one of the things that I do want to bring up is that I just read in the news that the head of the Armed Forces Committee, Republican, and another Republican, actually sent a letter to the Department of Defense asking them to postpone the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So even at the last moments, they're scrambling to try to do whatever, to stop it. This belief that it's going to be such a big problem is bullcrap. Even in the Marine Corps, where 60% of them actually didn't want it to be repealed. But the reality is there's a lot of Marines who are gay right now. And there's a lot of Marines who are actually openly gay, which means that their friends know, which means their squad knows, which means their platoon knows. So I don't think it's going to have the ramifications that these people, say. But I think this is what they do, right? They scare people into believing things that are not true. So they use fear as a weapon to keep people silent. So kudos to everybody who helped repeal this, and I definitely think that this is a great moment, that we're going to experience tomorrow. So, well, that's it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to comment. Also, remember to subscribe and tell your friends. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know it was just my opinion, but hopefully my story stories helped out or not. Like I said, we're going to continue doing more things like this. So come on back and check us out. And by us, it just means me. So that's it for Let's Talk.